Welcome to the New Business Edition. I am Nalinee Khemraj. With us today is attorney at law Jenelle Joseph from Khemraj and Associates. Welcome, Jenelle.
Thank you for having me.
Today we'll be discussing property purchase. Jenelle, could you guide us through the process of purchasing a property in Trinidad from your point of view?
The first order of business would be for you to assess your savings and your income. At that point, you would approach your bankers to establish whether or not you would qualify for a loan to purchase a property, also how much money you can borrow.
Okay, so once you know how much money you can borrow, then you could go out and look for the property of your dreams.
Of course.
So once your bankers tell you the amount of money that you have to spend on the property of your dreams, you can go out and start looking for that property.
Yes.
Once you've found that property now, what is the next stage?
The next stage would be discussions, negotiations, see how much you can bargain with your vendor, see how much you can get off of the original purchase price that they want. At that point, you would then request that your attorney draw up your agreement for sale document. Upon signing the agreement for sale document, you then pay your deposit. Then you carry your agreement for sale to your bankers, and then the loan application process commences.
Okay. Agreement for sale. What does this document entail?
This document basically formalizes your oral discussions and what you've agreed to orally.
Okay. Is there a period within which you have to complete? Is there a set time period within which you have to complete the transaction from making an offer to actually closing that offer?
Well, the making the offer would be the prelude to the agreement for sale.
Right.
Upon signing an agreement for sale, you have within 90 days to 100 days the parties can agree within which you can complete your agreement for sale.
Okay. So you take the agreement for sale to your bankers.
Yes.
And what do they advise you from there? What?
Well, at that point, you would have certain obligations to fulfill on the basis of the agreement for sale. You would be allowed to now conduct your search, your title searches and so on. Make sure that your vendor has proper marketable title for him to sell you this property. If you come back with a search that says your vendor is not the proper owner of this property, you can then give notice to your vendor that he doesn't have proper marketable title, and then you're entitled to your deposit refunded immediately.
Okay. So we've conducted our searches and the seller has good marketable title to the property, so we can go ahead with the purchase. Valuation reports, those always come up. Could you tell me what it entails?
These valuation reports are inevitable, to be honest. Valuation report is necessary when you're going to register your conveyance, which is your deed. This will need to be presented to the stamp duty department because you will have to pay a stamp duty tax on your registration of your conveyance. This valuation report, however, if you can't afford one, you can request that the stamp duty department make a request that the state provide them with a valuation report, and on that basis, you'll be able to get your assessment. This, however, can delay the process a little because it takes about 3 months for them to complete this valuation report for you.
Okay.
But you do save costs.
Okay. To ask if there are any limits. Some valuation reports cost a lot of money. Like we do valuation reports and they cost 15,000, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 15,000, whatever.
Yeah.
So if the state is doing your report, is there any limit to the value of the property?
No.
Thank you, Jenelle, for letting us know that. That is not something I think a lot of people know.
Right.
So the only limiting factor is really the time.
Yes, definitely, the time frame within which this valuation report will be presented.
Okay. In terms of fees, legal fees, valuation fees, bankers fees, a lot of buyers, when they're purchasing property, they don't factor those costs into their budget.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit what we can expect in terms of fees?
Well, fees are based on a scale value basis. That is with respect to attorney fees. So we now would base our fees on the basis of the purchase price or the valuation price, the valuation figure, whichever is the higher figure, as well as the stamp duty figure will also be based on that figure. Because sometimes you can be purchasing a property for $400,000 and then the valuation report comes back at $1 million.
Okay.
So the stamp duty figure would be assessed now on the $1 million figure. Our fees would also be assessed on that $1 million figure.
So Jenelle, Under the contract period, the 90 days or 120 days, as agreed between the parties, the seller has to show that he has good marketable title to the property, and the searchers take care of that. We've dealt with that. Does he have any other obligations during this time period?
Yes, he also would have to, if a mortgage pops up from the search results and so on, he would have to ensure that that mortgage is released. A deed of release would need to be prepared and so on, registered. Also, he would need to provide you with WASA clearance certificates and receipts for land taxes.
Okay. So we've more or less completed the entire process of purchasing a property in Trinidad. We've taken care of the agreement for sale, making an offer, title searches, valuation reports, other obligations of the seller.
Yes.
Stamp duty. So,
and legal fees.
And most importantly, legal fees.
Yes.
So there you have it. Everything you need to know about purchasing a property in Trinidad and Tobago from attorney at law Jenelle Joseph. Thank you, Jenelle.
No problem.